After living in New York City, perhaps the foremost bastion of urbanism in the United States, for the better part of 4 years, I recently had to move back to LA for work. Although I grew up here, once I got back, I was gobsmacked by the sheer inefficiency of the city's design. Everyone knows about LA's infamous problem with constant vehicle congestion on freeways and residential streets alike, but what a lot of people don't realize is that what makes LA really strange is its nonsensical layout. LA is the second largest city in the US by population, but unlike New York, Chicago, or Philly, LA does not have a dense unified core surrounded by sprawling suburbs. For the most part, LA is one huge swath of sprawl, punctuated by intermittent pockets of urban environments. With such an unmanageable size and lack of density, it can be really hard for city planners to fight against the city's strange layout. But every once in a while, a neighborhood pops up that feels like the antithesis of LA's status quo. Soon after moving back home, I fell in love with the downtown district of Culver City, an incorporated municipality within Los Angeles County that feels unlike anything else within a 20-mile radius. During my time on the other coast, Culver transformed from yet another car-dependent asphalt strode fest to a lively little neighborhood that's actually pleasant to be in. Today I'm going to look at how this happened, what still needs to be done, and how a recent city council vote put the future of the city in jeopardy. If you walk along Culver Boulevard, you'll witness a lot of features uncommon across the greater Los Angeles area. Painted and even somewhat protected bike lanes, dedicated bus lanes, a bustling variety of shops, cafes, restaurants, theaters, and grocery stores within walking distance, and even a nearby metro station. In rare fashion around here, it doesn't feel like cars dominate the landscape, but that they're curtailed and kept under control. You'll see lots of bikers and pedestrians around here, traveling in relative harmony alongside their vehicular counterparts. And, at the core of it all, you'll find the Culver Steps, a pedestrian-focused development the likes of which you really just don't see much around here. I mean, look at this. Just last week I was walking in the area to find a place to grab lunch, and they happened to have some promotion for, ironically, a car, and they were giving out free lattes and pastries to anyone who passed by. That's something LA's always lacked, the stumble-upon ability you get in walkable areas. But it wasn't always like this here. In fact, it wasn't even like this a few years ago. If you take a look at this intersection on Street View, you can see that none of this was here as recently as 2015. A lot of this can be chalked up to Hackman Capital, a real estate investment company who, after buying the historic Culver Studios lot and renting it out to Amazon, felt they could do more in the area directly adjacent. But really, pretty much all of this happened after the opening of Metro's E-Line station, clearing the way for some of the only transit-oriented development in the Los Angeles area. Soon after, City Council passed the Move Culver City initiative, which literally paved the way for changes along Culver Boulevard. Moral of the story here? Transforming a mundane neighborhood into one with character doesn't even take all that long. The real hurdles are all political. Now, while a lot of these changes are great, they aren't perfect. Of course, these things take time, and the amount of change Culver City has made in just the last decade is nothing to sneeze at. Still, even along the main downtown corridor, there's an apparent lack of mixed-use zoning in an area that could definitely benefit from some. Sure, there are a few luxury high-rises here and there, including this building, which houses my absolute favorite cafe in the neighborhood, but most of the buildings around here are only a single story high. And especially with California's ongoing housing crisis, packing in the density in an already walkable community with lots of transit access seems like a must. If you take a walk around, another glaring issue is just how small the redeveloped area really is. Just a few blocks in any cardinal direction and you're back to vehicle-prioritized roadways, single-use zoning, and empty sidewalks. I think a great next step would be to increase the bike lane network throughout the larger neighborhood. None of those goofy bike routes that just slap a picture of a bike on the asphalt in hopes that drivers and cyclists will play nice with each other. I currently live in a neighborhood not 3 miles east of Culver City, so close that I can usually bike there faster than I'd be able to drive. But even with the town's emphasis on bikeability, I have way more close encounters with cars on a daily basis than I'm comfortable with. Improving the network would not only help encourage people within the neighborhood to bike more for short trips, but would also enable people who live further out to gain easy access. Plus, Culver City has invested in a relatively thorough bike-sharing infrastructure, but there's still a lack of safe lanes for bikes to make that option viable. And that's not to say there aren't more changes in the work. Just last August, Culver City announced new bus and bike lanes coming to Venice Boulevard, the wide strode that runs parallel to its main drag. And soon after, the city abolished its minimum parking requirements across the entire city, removing the need for new developments to leave arbitrary spaces on their land for parked cars. But these changes haven't all been met with open arms from locals. NIMBYs have stirred quite a bit of backlash due to the supposed increase of traffic along the Move Culver City project corridor. YouTuber LEJ has a great video on this that you should check out for more info, but essentially, drivers in the area feel slighted at the removal of their precious driving lanes, and are calling for a return to the gray blob of concrete that preceded it. According to this polling data conducted by FM3 Research on behalf of the project in March of 2023, 40% of residents strongly oppose the recent initiatives. Most of the people opposing the change are, you guessed it, homeowners and retired residents over the age of 50. Younger people, specifically men for whatever reason, however, are most in support of the changes. Now, Culver City City Council is actually undoing a lot of the changes that have made its downtown district so good for people. Specifically, they're replacing the dedicated bus lane with another driving lane and combining the bike and bus lanes into one joint pathway. The decision, which was decided on a 3-2 vote in April, was supposedly made because biking alongside cars is bad for cyclists, who have to undergo extended exposure to vehicle emissions while riding. The solution, of course, is to add even more cars and force bikers to share their lane with buses. It's an unfortunate step backwards for the city, and yet another example of governments bestowing privilege upon drivers at the expense of cyclists and transit users. So as wonderful as it's been for folks like me, who are dying to see LA live up to its urbanist potential, we still have a long way to go against those who have only known an auto-centric lifestyle.